Hi everyone, welcome to another exciting episode of The Belle Show. The Belle Show is the show for the everyday lady and the man who loves her. And this season we are looking at relationships. We're looking at different types of relationships from the inside out. It's BelleRelates from the inside out. We want to dissect every kind of relationship in our lives and how we can be a better person, what we can do, what value we can bring to that relationship, because most of the time we're unhappy in our relationships, but we fail to see that the problem might actually be with us. Probably there's something we are not doing well that we ought to do. We want to have a self-evaluation. Look at yourself, look at those relationships. What can I do better? How can I be a better wife? How can I be a better husband? How can I be a better colleague? How can I just relate to other people around me in a better way? And last time, wow, what an amazing time we had. We were talking about relating with yourself as a foundation to healthy relationships with other people, because the Bible rightly says that we should love our neighbor as ourselves. Jesus said you have to love your neighbor as yourself. So if you don't love yourself, my dear, you can't love somebody else. It is important. It is a foundation. It is fundamental. And if the foundations be destroyed, what can the righteous do? Last time we had such an awesome time with my guest, and he's back in the studio with us today, and I'm looking forward to this episode because it's going to be life-changing. I tell you, you're going to go and think about your life, and I'm just believing God with you that there will actually be a change in your life and in your story, because you are more than what you are saying right now. I'm going to go on a break, and in case you didn't know who he was last week, just get ready. I'm going to be introducing him when I come back. Don't go anywhere.
The first level of relationship and interaction is the interaction and relationship with yourself. And for you to be able to interact and relate with yourself effectively, to bring out the best that you were born to be, you need to know who you are.
Right.
You need to know the purpose for which you exist. You need to embrace and accept the value that you provide to other people before we now move to your interaction and relationship with other people.
You're welcome back. Like I said earlier on, we've been talking about having a healthy relationship with yourself. And I have right in the studio with me one more time, they call him the catalyst. He's a coach, he's a mentor, he's a life strategist, he's so many things to so many people. And like I said the last time, he has been a blessing to me personally. One more time, help me welcome into the Belle studio, Mr. BelleRelates.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. We're delighted that you've taken time out of your busy schedule. I know how busy you can be to be with us right here one more time. And Africa is just blessed to have you, because I'm sure a lot of people don't know. They're like, what? I mean, because some of these things, it's not as if we're doing it deliberately. You can be sincerely wrong. We don't have the knowledge. Like the Bible says, to be without knowledge is not good for the soul. I mean, last time we started talking about, having this healthy self-esteem with yourself, knowing who you are, getting rid of all those self-limiting beliefs, all those things that will stop you from getting to where you're supposed to get to. And because it's a foundation, even for marriage relationship, I've come across a lot of people that are having issues in their marriage, and it's because they don't have a healthy self-relationship with themselves. We want to look at our emotions. How do we connect our emotions? Because some of the times you can't control our emotions. Is it because there's still something wrong in our soul? How do we link all of those together?
Well, and the area we want to go into is an area that I'm very, emotional about. I'm very passionate about the emotions. And you made a very profound statement. It's difficult to control your emotions.
Right.
It's just like people want the smoke to go away when there's a fire, but they don't go to the fire and quench the fire.
True, that's right.
So people leave the fire burning and expect that the smoke will not affect them. And emotions are like smoke. And for you to be able to master, I don't even believe in managing your emotions. For you to be able to master your emotions, you've got to master the heart of it, the fire. and the fire that drives every emotion are your thoughts again. So, you know, as a man thinketh in his heart, so is he. That's a paradox. You don't think with your heart. You think with your head and you feel with your heart. Now, neuroscience teaches me that, you know, every thought and every sustained thought or intention generates 8 watts of energy and power and transmits it to 8 meters radius of you. So that thought energy sends a signal to your heart that provokes an emotional energy that generates 5 watts of energy and power and transmits to 4 meters radius of you. A combination of your thought energy and your emotional energy creates a morphic field, a magnetic field, a force that sends signal to your neural system and your muscles to compel you to take action. So as a man thinketh in his heart, so easy. If you don't want to do it, don't think it. Anything that man thinks and consistently thinks, he brings about. And so, you know, using a chicken, if anyone has ever killed a chicken at the point of death, when you're about to sever the head, doctors tell us that any being that you cut its head off from the body is dead instantly. But what begins to happen with a chicken is when you cut off a chicken's head, just before you separate the head from the body, it generates an intention to escape.
Right.
That thought energy sends signal to his heart that compels its body, its neural system, its muscle to escape. And so when you cut off a chicken's head and you release it, what does it do? It escapes until it dissipates all that energy. And so that is what happens to man. You cannot control your emotions if you do not control that intention. So the intention of that energy or what you meditate upon, you know, influences the emotions that you feel. And by virtue of that, it influences the actions that you take. So the person that gets angry or manifests anger is thinking a thought, why is this person disrespecting me? Is thinking a thought that, you know what, I will never take this. I can never take this from a woman. Is thinking a thought that, you know what, he may not even be conscious of it. I've seen my father react this way.
You know, I remember the last time you said that those thoughts can actually be strongholds. They've been there for so long.
Yeah. And you may not even know that they've been there for so long. So the typical example is a man that slaps or abuses his wife. And you know, when she does something or she says something and is unable to control that action, it's not the action you should control, right? It's not the emotion of anger that you should control. It's the thought or the belief that generates it. So you didn't know that you learnt it from your father. You saw your father react that way towards your mother and you said to yourself, I'm not going to be like my father. But what happens is consistently you've been in that environment, you've been programmed. And so when the day of reckoning comes, right, that requires a response that is other than that, because you have said to yourself, I'm not going to be like my father, and your subconscious deletes the don't, what happens? When that same trigger is set off, you will react the same way because you're processing those thoughts. You're thinking it, you know, it's the way my father reacts, it's the way my father responds. My father gets angry. When he gets angry, he shouts. When he shouts, he lashes out. And so that's what men do. So I'm a man. And so, you know, I need to respond this way. So it's the only way that you think that a woman can respect you. It's the only way that you think you can exert authority, you know, and feel like a man and feed your ego. As a man thinketh in his heart. So easy.
Wow, that's intriguing. I mean, somebody's probably beginning to think to themselves that, okay, so this is actually the reason why I'm doing all of this. How can we begin to navigate from that stronghold? Because like we've seen now, is the power of your thoughts. Is not one, because there are a lot of things that people are limiting us to, stopping us from entering into the fullness of what God has ordained for us too. And now that I've seen that, okay, it's actually my thoughts. I've been entertaining negative thoughts in my heart. I've been dwelling on negative thoughts. I've not been focusing on the positive. How? Because for some people, it's gone way beyond just more than, okay, I need to be confessing now. I need to be affirming. It's gone really deep. And they probably don't even know how to come out of that place.
I mean, it's if you're suffering, and you can't seem to help yourself, then you need to get help. And, you know, I say this with all sense of responsibility and commitment. You need to get help from someone that understands the dynamics of the mind.
Right.
And someone that is vast in the knowledge of the soul, you know, emotional issues. If you want to do it yourself, you know, one of the simple things to do is to always, because every human being processes 50,000 to 70,000 thoughts. You will wear yourself out if you want to track each thought.
True.
But what we know and how we've simplified it is that your thoughts create your moods or your feelings. So there are only two. You have a positive feeling or you have a negative feeling. A good feeling or a bad feeling. Now, if you use those two as your navigators, now I'm feeling bad, right? Immediately ask yourself, what did I just think?
Right.
And that way you'll be able to narrow it down. Now, where did that thought come from? Who did I learn this thought from? Where did I get this thought from? And this thought, what belief is it creating in me? And you would be able to begin to probe, you know, investigate. And then what you now want to do is ask yourself, what is the desired outcome? What is the desired behavior? And what belief or what thought will create it? Which oftentimes is the positive opposite of that thought or that belief that you had that provoked the wrong mood or the wrong emotions. And so if you want to do it yourself over time, with everything that you do, you must do it that way. Get a journal. I feel bad now. What was the thought before that?
Right.
What was the belief before that? Where did I get it from? What is the outcome of the lives of the people that I learnt it from? Do I want to end up that way? If not, then you need to challenge that belief. You need to challenge that behavior. You need to challenge that thought. But most importantly, the key is to replace it. When the Bible says renew your mind, it doesn't say, you know, don't not think it. You've got to replace it with something else.
Positive.
You know, Christ died and replaced us. He is not asking us to live a changed life. He's asking us to live an exchanged life. That is, he took yours and gave you his. So you let go of yours and take his. So even in the dynamics of your mind, you've got to let go and take on another one. And we often recommend the positive opposite in line with your desired objective, your desired behavior, or your desired action.
Wow, I feel like jumping up and clapping because that's powerful right there, because there's just some things. So I'm supposed to be living the exchanged life, not just because what comes to mind is when Jesus Christ casted out demons from those guys. It says that you cannot just leave the place empty. Something else needs to come inside of it. And you know, most of the time we just are not, we're not conscious enough of our thoughts. You know, we talk about confession, you know, positive confession, we pay attention to what we say, you know, but we don't pay attention to what we think about. We don't put in that same amount of effort into our thoughts to make sure that our thoughts are actually tailored in the right way. We're not just thinking anything that comes to our mind, because at the end of the day, your thoughts makes you. Your thought pattern determines your life, and that life is actually a reality. Meanwhile, the things you are thinking, the things that actually brought about those thoughts they are not real. So I mean, this is really exciting to know that you can actually begin to change the course of your life by changing, the way you think. And you know, it's important because we are still talking about the relationship, relating with yourself, having a healthy self relationship, you know, that you can be confident of yourself, you can know who you actually are. And I've heard it said a lot of times, married couples say, oh, my better half, you know, or I'm looking for my better half. And I'm wondering, are you supposed to be half looking for another half to complement you? You know, it sort of like says to me that you are not whole. And it's still what we're talking about. You need to be whole, you need to be healthy, so that you can be a blessing in that marriage. And you see, a lot of marriages are actually going through tough times right now because either both parties or either of the party has issues with self-esteem. You know, there's insecurity, there's just something that has happened that they've not been able to deal with in their past. And you know, the society, things are happening, people are doing things that they ought not to do because of this issue that we are having in marriages. I mean, how do we begin to, you know, work on this issue of self-esteem within the marriage context?
I mean, that's a very open-ended, you know, question, but you know, because there's a lot that is required in there. I will try as much as possible to.
I mean, okay, let's say how will it affect my marriage? Because sometimes, like this season, we are looking at BelleRelates from the inside out.
Yeah.
If I have relationship with my issues with my marriage, for instance, and I begin to say, oh, my husband is not doing this, my husband is not doing that, you know, but probably it is me. Probably there's something that I'm not doing that I need to begin to do, and I'm thinking that because I'm not whole, because I don't even know myself to start with. I don't even have a healthy relationship with myself, and I want a change in my marriage.
Yeah, you see, the truth of the matter is, you know, as we evolve, we attain wholeness. When you become born again, your spirit is completely brand new. But you need to constantly renew your mind and then subject your flesh.
Yeah.
So you are working towards wholeness in your evolution on earth. Now, God must have gotten mathematics wrong if we're looking at it from the context of mathematics. And a man shall leave his father and mother and be joined to his wife, and they two shall become one. 1 plus 1 is 2. Which means that, you know, God really understands that, you know, he took Eve out of Adam. He took a rib out of him, and for him to be fully complete, right, you know, it needs that interaction. When the Bible says that when you know your wife, you become one, spirit, soul, and body. That's that unity. That's that fusion. Now, beyond that also is the marriage.
Right.
The institution of marriage in itself is, you know, recommended and was set up by God. A lot of people get into marriages for the wrong reasons.
Right.
Now, if you do not know the purpose for your marriage, if you do not know your own purpose within the marriage, if you do not know your spouse's purpose in that marriage, you put each other to abnormal use.
Right.
And that marriage will become an institution of abnormality. So in the situation that you have created, right, it's the wife or the husband is demanding because he himself or she herself, right, is struggling with a self-esteem, self-belief, self-confidence. You need to understand that, you know, a relationship is a place where you meet the need of the other person, and the other person is positioned to meet your needs. And both of you meet each other's needs within that environment. So it's not really about taking, it's more about giving. And when you understand that, and you know what it is that you have that the other person doesn't have, you know that it is the blessing that God has given you to give that person, to complement his life and complete his life. And likewise him, right, needs to understand that his strengths are to complement you and complete you. Now, oftentimes what begins to happen is I begin to fight you with my strengths because you are weak in that area. You begin to fight me with your strengths because I'm weak in that area. So instead of complementing and completing each other, we're tearing up each other apart. The statistics proves today that 1 out of every 2 marriages is ending up in one form of divorce or the other. In Nigeria, 7 out of every 10 marriages is ending up in one form of separation or the other. You find people living in the same house, maintaining status quo. They've been keeping malice for months. They haven't had sex in months. They haven't slept in the same bed in months. All that keeps them together is school fees, money for food, money for diesel, money for house help. You know, those are the only things that they talk about, and they are failing in meeting each other's needs, not understanding that, look, my wife has valid needs that I am the one that God has brought to meet those needs. And you know, there are 13 fundamental needs that we usually look at critically within every marriage and every relationship that the spouse is positioned to meet. And you know, when you fail in meeting those needs, then your spouse begins to look out for someone else out there that will meet those needs, or something else out there that will meet those needs. And that's where the issue of self-esteem comes in. When your husband doesn't affirm you with his words, he doesn't encourage you, which is one of the needs, right? Then you now look to Auntie Fumi's hair to be the thing that gives you confidence. You look to the Gucci, dress, or the Valentino dress to be that thing. You look to somebody else outside telling you that you are beautiful, for you to feel beautiful, or for you to feel self-confident. And it always stems, everything always stems from the home, always stems from the family. And the whole concept of family is really to help your development, is to help you become whole.
Wow, that's interesting. You're not in any relationship to get, you are there to give, you are there to add value. But again, how can you give what you don't have? We're still talking about having a healthy self-relationship with yourself. We're going to go on another short break right now. I don't want you to touch that dial. We'll be right back. Don't go anywhere. Hi there, welcome to another exciting episode of The Belle Show. You're welcome back. Wow, we're still talking about having a healthy self-esteem with yourself. And my guest today has just been going very deep into this topic because it's something that we need. Our society needs it because we can see the effect of not having this information. You're talking about the statistics of the divorce rates, because most of the time, when you really dig deep into the issues that have affecting our marriages, is esteem issues. It's because one partner does not feel holding themselves, and they're trying to get from the other person what they're supposed to get from themselves. You started talking about the husband and the wife. I mean, assuming that somebody already has a healthy self-esteem and they're in that kind of a relationship that the other party doesn't have a healthy self-esteem, and they're just trying to drain from them. I mean, is it possible for the person to lose that self-esteem?
Yeah, so if you grew up in an environment where it fostered your self-esteem, your parents invested in you, and then you all throughout your secondary school and your development, you were around people that affirmed it and were positive. Then you now go into a home where the man abuses you physically, he abuses you emotionally, and abuses you verbally, especially verbally, and the way you interpret things and your preference in terms of how you engage with your environment is words of affirmation. Right. And that is one of your love languages and your critical love language. And the man continues to batter you with words that you are stupid, you're an idiot, you don't even have sense. Do you call yourself a woman? Go and check what other wives are doing and what other women are doing. And you remain in that environment. Remember that we're influenced by how we interpret things within our environment, and you put that man on a pedestal as an authority over you. Imagine if he was your pastor, right, and is your husband, and is the breadwinner, and is the man that you've loved him forever, and that man begins to speak those vile words towards you. Then gradually, when you continue to hear that, it begins to erode your self-esteem. Your self-esteem that was developed all throughout your life, it begins to wane until a time when, if you are not careful, you lose it all.
Wow, no wonder the Bible says to guard your heart with all diligence, you know, because what you allow to enter into your ears actually forms you, actually determines your self-esteem. And you know, talking about self-esteem in the context of marriage, you know, so many times we try to cover up a lot of things. You know, we cover up the real issues by, maybe the woman can just make up her mind, you know, tell you what, I'm going to just keep climbing the ladder of my career. Let me get more degree. Let me just, you know, do a business. Let me just do this, you know, without actually dealing with the root of the issue in the marriage, you know, which is the self-esteem of either of the parties or both of them, you know. And sometimes, you know, I've actually heard this before about men. I don't know how how correct it is that, you know, when a man does not have a lot of money, it actually affects his self-esteem. It brings his self-esteem right down there, you know. Is that necessarily so, or does it just mean that the guy doesn't have a healthy self-esteem anyway, and he's just using that as a cover-up?
You know, it's quite interesting, you know, talking about money, because, you know, I just wrote a book on money. It's called The Money Book, the lessons that I learned from poor and rich men. And one of the critical lessons and laws in the book, you know, is that as a man thinketh, so is he. Money is not that cash that you see. Money is a mindset.
Right.
Now, a lot of people, you know, say money is evil. You know, and some people believe money is good. Money is neutral in nature. It takes on the character, it takes on the intention, it takes on the behavior and the habits of the custodian.
Right.
Now, I often say, and it's written in that book, that, you know, if you want to know the true character of a man, take away all his money instantly, or give him too much money instantly.
Right.
So it's not money that changed him. Money is just a trigger that brings out the true nature in that man. So if you really want to know a man, let him not have money. You will see the real man. And if you truly want to know a man, let him have too much money instantly. You know, and that's how you are able to identify, you know, the true character of a man. And it is true. You know, the anomaly is that people create anchors around themselves that they hope can help them feel good. Now, there's a difference between feeling good and having a healthy self-esteem.
Right.
We have anchors around us that help us create security, a sense of security. There is a difference between true security and false security.